Hey, welcome back. This is now 6.3, and we'll be factoring trinomials where the leading coefficient is no longer 1. And we sort of began in the last section by just attacking this problem by factoring out the GCF, and then hoping that we could make a leading coefficient of 1 and then factor from there. These problems turn out to be a little harder, and it'll come down for us humans, to trial and error. So you're just kind of guessing your way. Fortunately, there's not an infinite number of guesses, unless you accidentally keep on guessing the same thing that didn't work before and you get somehow stuck in a loop. But I think you'll be safe. There's, worst case scenario, maybe you'll have to check 5 potential answers. But after a while, literally, it's like magic. Your brain will kind of get a feel for how it works, and you'll be able to just look at it and kind of know. It's one of the awesome parts about math. Anyways, you'll begin as usual, right? So the sign part of our kind of forms will always be the same. If you see plus plus here, you're going to have plus plus over here. Okay. So still, I advise you to set up your parentheses and put your signs in place. Okay. Then in easy cases, there's going to be some things that have to be true. For example, this number 3 only has one possible factorization. It has to be 3 and 1. Okay, and so you could tack that into place. There's no, it could be 1 and 3, but because the pluses, it's basically, it's going to be this shape. And that's just a matter of figuring out which version is it. Is it going to be 2x plus 3 times x plus 1? Because you have to have 2x times x to give you 2x squared. There's no other way to do that. Or is it going to be x plus 3 times 2x plus 1? And that's the hard part, right? There's 2 possible answers, and you have to figure out which one works. Okay? So FOIL it out, see if it works. If you've been FOILing out and checking out in your head all along to this point, you'll probably be able to do this part in your head, and you won't even have to write it out. But if you've not, you're just going to have to do it the hard way. So anyways, here we go. First, 2x squared outer, 2x inner, 3x last. So, okay, so the first guess is right. It's 2x plus 3 and then x plus 1, and that would be the factorization. That's your answer. Okay. So we just want to look at a whole bunch of these examples. I don't know if that's number 1 in the book. Let's look at this guy, 2x squared plus 7x plus 3. Okay, so again, set up your parentheses. Because of the signs, it has to be plus plus. And then I need 2 numbers that multiply to give me 3 for the last term. So it has to be 3 and 1, or 1 and 3. And we kind of already did this problem above. It's not going to be this factorization. It'll be this one, right? Because this one is first 2x squared, outer, plus x, inner, plus 6x, plus the last 3 times 1 is 3. So this would be 7x in the middle, and that gives us what we want. So this is x plus 3 and 2x plus 1. Okay. Hopefully you get tons and tons of practice in homework. So again, set it up. It has to be plus plus because of the signs. Now we have multiple factorizations for 35, but we don't for 2x squared, right? So let's tack in the 2x and the x. That has to be true. And then you just kind of have to guess your way through it. And I promise, after a while, it's going to somehow weirdly encode itself in your brain, and you're going to be able to do this, okay? Without having to even write all this extra stuff out. So anyways, one possibility is 7 and 5. So this would be 2x squared plus 10x plus 7x. That's not going to work because we'd have 17 in the middle. So maybe 5 and 7. So this would be 2x squared plus 14x. Yeah, that's going to work. Plus 5x plus 35, and we get the 19. I mean, there's other possibilities. You go 35 and 1, but 35 and 1 would never give you that 19 in the middle. Okay, so there's going to be, it's almost like magic, but you'll have an intuition about how to factor these once you get enough practice. Right, so this would be 2x plus 5 and x plus 7. Let's try another one. They get harder when you have the other forms, right? So when you have like a minus minus form, that's even worse. The only thing we can really say in this case is it has to be plus minus, all right? It turns out it's not that big of an issue though, because if you screw up the signs, all you have to do is reverse them. So if I FOILed out my guess and I ended up with 3y squared plus y minus 4, all I have to do is change the signs and I'd have the answer. So that's not too big of a detail. Okay, so anyways, let's try some, right? So 3y and y plus minus, and then some possible factorizations, 4 and 1, 1, 4, 2, 2. So there's really only, 4 possible factorizations. So let's try 4 and 1. So I think I just got really lucky there, didn't I? So 3y squared, the outer, minus 3y, the inner, plus 4y, and then the last, minus 1, or minus 4. The only problem is I got the signs reversed, right? 3y squared plus y minus 4, and that's exactly what I was talking about. So all you have to do is just really switch, instead of plus 4, put minus 4, instead of minus 1, put plus 1, and that would be the answer. Okay? So it's going to be y plus 1, and then 3y minus 4, and of course you could FOIL it out, check, make sure it works. Let's try another one. 3x squared minus 10x plus 7. Again, get your signs. This has to be minus minus, no other way around it. And then you could put in the 7 and 1. There's no other way to do that. Or you could play with the 3x and the x. Right? So it either has to be 1, 7 or 7, 1. So let's try 1, 7. So 3x squared first, the outer, minus 21x, the inner, minus x, and the last, plus 7. So that's not going to work. So there's only one other possibility, 3x minus 7, and then x minus 1. So let's try that, 3x squared first, the outer, minus 3x, the inner, that's going to work, and then plus 7. Okay. So 3x minus 7 and x minus 1, whoops, I butchered line 1. And that's our factorization. Okay. Let's try one with multiple variables. Six x squared minus 7xy minus 5y squared. Okay, this has to be a plus minus situation. Minus, and the second term has to be 5y and y, right? Or some variation of that, y and 5y. There's kind of no way around it. It has to be 5y and y or something like that. The first term, there's several possibilities. It could be 2 and 3, 6 and 1. So let's try 6 and 1 and see what happens. So 6x and then 1x. FOIL it out and see what it is. 6x squared first, the outer, minus 6xy, the inner, plus 5xy, and then last, minus 5y squared. Okay, so that's not going to work. That'd be negative 1xy in the middle, and we need negative 7xy. So we'll swap them. Put x plus 5y, and then 6x minus y. And hopefully you kind of see this isn't going to work, right? Because the middle term is going to be big, and there's no way to get a 7 when you add them together or subtract them. So anyways, I'll show that. So first, 6x squared, the outer, minus xy, the inner, plus 30xy, and then the last, minus 5y squared. So yeah, we're getting 29xy is way off. So 6 and 1 must not be the right way to go. We need 3 and 2. That's the only other possibility. So let's try 3x plus 5y, and then 2x minus y. So I get 6x squared, the first, the outer, minus 3xy, the inner, plus 10xy, and then the last, minus 5y squared. Combine the middle terms. I almost got it right. The only problem is I have a plus 7xy. I need a minus 7xy. So all you have to do is change the signs and it should work. So ultimately then we have 2x plus y and then 3x minus 5y. And we could check that. It'll be 6x squared first, outer, minus 10xy, inner, it's 3xy, and then last, minus 5y squared. Okay, and yeah, that works. So that's our factorization. It's a lot like breaking a code or breaking a lock of some sort, and that's a in World War II that was a big thing. Trying to break codes. The Germans had this thing called the Enigma machine, which looks like this guy right here. Okay, so they would type in their message, and there'd be these rotors in there, and they would spin, and it would spin every time you type in a letter. It would change position, and then there would be this electrical output, and it would output a different letter based off of the connections in the rotors. Okay. And the Polish were the first people to kind of figure out ways of decrypting all this stuff using something called abstract algebra. It's like if you kept taking math, some people actually learned abstract algebra earlier. Before, if you ever heard of the new math, or what do they call that? Core. Every parent hates the new math that the kids are learning these days. I forget what it's called. But back in the day, they tried that with this kind of math, like teaching people how to do this math, abstract algebra, and kind of had the same problems as they had not too long ago. But this is something you can study. The Polish were really the first people who did it, although the English usually take credit for it with Alan Turing at Bletchley Park, I believe, which was kind of like their NSA. And I've been to the NSA headquarters as well, and they have an Enigma machine sitting in their Bletchley Park. And they have an Enigma machine sitting in their headquarters. So you can go in there, take a look around. That'd be cool to go there someday. The code breakers. But anyways, for me, this is a lot like breaking codes. So if you like puzzles and things like that, this is probably right up your alley. Honestly, it is one of my favorite parts of math. Okay. So anyways, hopefully that gives you some motivation to get in there and get to work. Okay. So anyways, still your first option when you're encountering one of these trinomials where your leading coefficient is not a 1, your first sort of option is always to kind of see if you could factor out a GCF first. So I just want to remind you, please check for GCF first. And this will be our video quiz. This is just an example, but it's our video quiz. So this is the third video quiz in our next set of video quizzes, which will all go on one piece of paper, and then you'll scan it and send it to me in a PDF via my email. Anyways, let's take a look. 4x squared minus 18x minus 10. So first thing I do is I look at it, and rather than just jumping in and starting to factor, because if you could get a leading coefficient of 1, it's a lot easier. So you don't want to put yourself through that pain. So I look at it and I say, okay, I can factor out well, not 4 won't work, right? 4 won't go in the 10, but a 2 will work. So I can get a 2 out of there at least. And that cuts down on the agony of having to do these problems, unless you really like puzzles. But, okay. So anyways, it looks like we're getting 2x squared minus 9x minus 5. And then hopefully it'll be easier to deal with, right? So this has to be a plus minus scenario, and the second it has to be 5 and 1, or 1 and 5, some variation, right? And so it's 2x and 1x, or it's x and 2x. So let's figure out, which version we're dealing with. So this first 2x squared outer minus 2x inner plus 5x, and then last minus 5. That's not going to work. So it should be x, maybe x plus 5, 2x minus 1. So first 2x squared outer minus x inner plus 10x, and then last minus 5. We're getting positive 9, so we need to flip the signs on that. So it'll be x minus 5 and then 2x plus 1. So 2x plus 1 and then x minus 5, which is the same as x minus 5 times 2x plus 1. Just like 3 times 4 is the same as 4 times 3. Okay. Yeah, so I think that is, okay, so that's the video quiz question. Let's just tailor to maybe 1 or 2 more examples, and then I'll switch over to my math lab. 36y squared plus 6y minus 12. So kind of a short lecture today. It looks like you can pull out a 6, right? So factor out a 6, we get 6y squared plus y minus 2. 6 times, and then we can factor this in the 2 binomials. So it has to be plus minus because of the signs. And then we're kind of thinking all the different variations. So maybe, I don't know, there's a lot of possibilities. So 2 and 1, that has to be true. And then we just have to figure out what the first terms will be. So probably 3 and 2, something like that, 3y. Because you need a small middle term. You'll never get it with 6 and 1. So 3y and 2y, I believe. So this would be 6y squared, the first, the outer, minus 3y, the inner, plus 4y, the last, minus 2. So did we get it? Yeah, that's right. You got it. Sometimes you get lucky, you get it on your first try. So this will be 3y plus 2, and then 2y minus 1. Okay. One more, then we'll carry over to my math lab. So negative 10x squared y to the 4th plus 14x y to the 4th plus 12y to the 4th. Okay, look at that. I'm going to factor out a negative of something, right? Looks like 2 goes into everything, so negative 2. And then I can factor out a y to the 4th. And then I think that's it. Okay. So this would be 5x squared. You have to flip the signs on all these. So minus 7x, and then minus 6. That's it. Okay. Then I got to figure out the factorization of this character. It's going to be plus minus. And then it has to be 5x and 1x. And 6 and 1 or 1 and 6. If it's 6 and 1 or 1 and 6, you're never going to get that 7 in the middle. So this has to be like 3 and 2. If you put the 3 over here, you're going to get a 15, which is too big. So you're going to have to make this 2. That'll give you 10. And then in here, you get a 3. So 10 minus 3 will give you the 7. So I think that'll work. Let's see. So 5x squared, the first, the outer, minus 10x, the inner, plus 3x. Yeah, that works. And then minus 6. Okay. So this will equal negative 2y to the 4th times 5x plus 3 times x minus 2. Okay, let's carry over then to my math lab and see what's going on there. Is this 6 and 6, 3? Yeah, okay. So maybe I can do it like this. Where's my notes? I'm trying to get the stupid arrow thing to, there we go. Okay, thank you. Factor the triangle, okay. So in this example, 16x squared plus 36xy minus 70y squared. Okay, so is there anything I can pull out? First off, I can pull out a 2, right? So I have 8x squared plus, looks like 18 xy minus 35 y squared. All right, and now it's just trial and error. You're trying to break the code. So it's going to be plus, minus, probably looking at like 7 and 5. Because if you use 35 and 1, you're going to have some huge numbers to deal with. I just don't think that's going to cut it, right? So we have something that adds to be 18, something like 4 and 2 maybe. And then you can kind of 14 for the middle. See how these are 14, and then the outers will give you 20. So that's not going to work, right? So you try 5 and 4, and then 7 and 2. So for the middle, 14, you get the same thing. So obviously that's not going to work. So maybe push the outer inner. So there's not much you can do. It's confusing myself. When I switched them, I think that was the wrong switch. So how would I switch them? The 7 and 5. So you put the 5 here and the 7 here, sorry, and the 4 and the 2 here. So you're going to get 10, and then this would be 28. So that'll get the job done. Then you just have to worry about getting the correct signs. So if it was 4x plus and then 2x minus, the 28 would be negative in that case. So we need to reverse the sign. So it's going to be 2x plus 7 and then 4x minus 5. So what I'm doing is just kind of putting the inner and outer terms in without the variables, and then kind of thinking, all right, if I multiply the outer and inner and then add them, what am I going to get? So let's check it. 2 times 2x plus 7 times 4x minus 5. Uh-oh. What did I do? All right, so I screwed something up. Maybe I factored it wrong. I apologize. So I guess FOIL effects 8x squared, the outer minus 10x, the inner plus 28x. Oh, I've lost the y's. Sorry about that. It's an easy fix though, right? Alrighty then. What do we have? 15x squared y plus 6xy minus 9y. Okay, I think I can get a 3 out of them and a y. So what do we have left? 5x squared plus 2x minus 3. I'll give us 3y times, it's a plus minus scenario. So what are we looking at? 5, 1, and then 3 and 1 probably, right? So if you multiply those, you get 5. Multiply these, you get 3. 3 minus 5 is some version of 2. So I think that'll work. Just got to get the signs correct. Okay, so it would be 3x and then negative 5. That won't work. So we need the signs reversed. So I need 5x minus 3 and then x plus 1. So you'll kind of produce, hopefully, your own techniques. It's kind of like a writing style. Every once in a while, I'll catch somebody like in a calculus class. I can tell they're cheating because they use a certain style that I know where that style comes from. Yeah. So it's like a signature. Okay, what did I do wrong? X plus. I got my y's in there. Oh, I lost the 3. Write the 3 in there. Yeah, so I mean, I lost my there was no y. Sorry, confusing myself. This is why it's a good idea to write it out, you know, in a nice form when you're doing your notes and everything. Let's try this guy. So they're getting harder. 6x squared y minus 28 xy squared plus 32y cubed. Looks like I could pull out a y, and I could pull out a 2. Okay, so 2y equals 2y. Let's start writing like a real person, real math person. So I get 3x squared minus 14x plus 16y squared. Okay, so 2y times blank. Oh, this is just a minus minus, so this will be a little easier. So it has to be 3x and x, and then it's 16, 1, you know, 4, 4, 8, 2, 8 and 2, 6 plus 8 is 14. So it has to be 8 and 2. In particular, we want the 8 here and the 2 here. So after a while, you'll be able to do it in your head. You know, in the beginning, you're probably going to have to write them all out. Anyways, let's see if this works. 8 minus x. See, I'm getting them all wrong. 3x x minus 2. What did I do wrong? Oh, I lost the y. First time I forgot the y. The second time I accidentally put the y in when I didn't, and the third time I am back to forgetting the y. Don't be like me. Okay. You want to achieve above and beyond what your teacher does. Okay. Let's make this the last one. Okay, I'll do the last. Usually the last problem is kind of weird. Okay, so this one has a binomial on top of everything you can factor out. Looks like we can factor out a constant as well. Okay, so I can factor out an x plus 3, but not only that, all 3 of these are divisible by 2. So I can factor out a 2 times x plus 3. That's going to leave me with 5y squared plus 43y minus 18. And I just have to factor that monster. So what are we dealing with then? 2 times x plus 3 times, and it's going to be plus minus, and we're thinking something like 5 and 1, and we need to get 43, so probably 9, because 9 times 5 is 45, it's close to 43, and 5, right? Okay, so let's see if we got it. 5y squared. First, outer minus 45y, inner plus 5y. Ooh, that's not going to work at all. And then, whoa, yeah, that's way off. Because, yeah, there's no way. 9 times 5, what the heck was I even thinking? It's sorry, this term here should be 2, right? And then that'll work. Okay. Sort of. So outer 5y squared, or sorry, first 5y squared, outer negative 45, inner plus 2y, and then last minus 18. So the problem here is we got the sign wrong. We got minus 43, we want plus 43. So you just go 5y minus 2, and then y plus 9, and that should do it. Let's see what the sign or my math lab says. Don't forget the 2 out in front, so 2 times plus 3 times y plus 9 times 5y minus 2. Ultimately, you're going to have to break these out on my tests. So the answer on my test, make sure it's identifiable, right? Here's my answer. So I do a lot of scratch work, but that's not part of the answer. And we still need to be able to present our answers in a way that another student, one of your classmates, could read it and know what you're talking about. you know. So anyways, okay, that's good. Okay, so hopefully that'll get you through the homework. As usual, if you have any questions, you can email me or see me during my office hours. And thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.